The king loses his throne. You cry. The athlete misses the medal by 1/100th of a second. You feel it more than the winner's victory. The band comes back after 4 years away. The thing that moves you most isn't the music. It's that they showed up at all. You've noticed this pattern in Korean dramas, Korean films, Korean music. The story that hits hardest is never about winning. It's about the person who kept going after the system decided they were finished. This isn't a cultural preference for sad stories. It is a precisely calibrated algorithm, one that was written into Korean collective memory by centuries of experience with exactly this situation. Its name is the Underdog Algorithm, and once you see it, you'll never watch Korean content the same way again. This is K-Logic, and today we decode why Korea always roots for the loser. There is a pattern running through Korean cultural output so consistent, so pervasive, and so specifically Korean that it should have been named and analyzed long before now. It appears in the dramas, Reply 1988's Jungwon, who loses the girl, 2521's Na Hee-do and Baek Jin, whose love the timeline refuses, My Mister's Lee Ji-yeon, who survives rather than triumphs, Signal's cold case detectives who solve crimes that the system has already decided don't matter. It appears in the films, The King's Wardens, Danjong, the legitimate king who loses everything and is remembered for centuries. Parasite's Kiwoo, whose ambition the system crushes with structural precision. The host's Gangdu, the incompetent father who saves his daughter anyway through sheer refusal to stop. The pattern is this. Korean audiences respond most powerfully not to triumph, but to dignified persistence in the face of a system that has already decided the outcome. This is not sentimentality, it is not a preference for tragedy, and it is absolutely not the same thing as the Western underdog narrative, the Rocky formula, the scrappy outsider who defies the odds through individual talent and determination and wins. The Korean underdog doesn't win. That is not a spoiler. It is the point. The 6 ministers die, Danjong is executed, Na Hee-do and Baek Jin separate, Lee Ji-yeon survives but does not overcome, and Korean audiences respond to these outcomes not with frustration at the unfairness, though that is present, but with something deeper, something that feels less like entertainment and more like recognition. The recognition of a society that has, across centuries of collective experience, developed a specific emotional intelligence around exactly this situation. What it means to do the right thing inside a system that will not reward you for it. K-Logic calls this the Underdog Algorithm, and once you see it, you'll never watch Korean content the same way again.
To understand the Underdog Algorithm, you need to understand the specific historical experiences that wrote it. Source Code 1. The Joseon Dynasty's Confucian legitimacy system. Joseon Korea operated under a Confucian political philosophy that placed extraordinary weight on legitimate process. Authority flowed through specific, defined channels. A king who came to power through correct succession held genuine moral authority. A king who came to power through force, regardless of his competence or the outcomes he produced, held corrupted authority. This created a specific cultural sensibility. The outcome of a power struggle did not determine its moral meaning. The person who lost through a legitimate process was not diminished by losing. The person who won through an illegitimate process was not elevated by winning. For a society operating under this framework for 5 centuries, the emotional intelligence required was precise, the ability to hold simultaneously the knowledge that someone lost and the recognition that losing did not make them wrong. That is the foundational source code of the Underdog Algorithm. Source Code 2. The experience of colonial erasure. From 1910 to 1945, Korea existed under Japanese colonial rule, a period that involved systematic attempts to erase Korean cultural identity. The Korean language was suppressed. Korean names were replaced with Japanese names. Korean history was rewritten. The explicit goal of the colonial administration was not just political control, but cultural deletion. A society subjected to this kind of systematic erasure develops a specific relationship with persistence. The act of continuing to exist, of maintaining cultural identity, of remembering what the system is trying to make you forget, becomes not just survival, but resistance. The underdog algorithm is, at one of its deepest levels, the emotional intelligence of a people who learned that continuing to exist in the face of systematic erasure is itself a form of victory. The 6 ministers refusing to call Seijo Your Majesty under torture are running this code. The Korean grandmothers who maintained the language in secret during colonial rule are running this code. BTS completing mandatory military service and returning are running this code. The specific act is different, the algorithm identical. Source code 3, the compressed development paradox. Korea's economic miracle, the poly urgency that transformed a war-devastated country into a global economic power within 2 generations, created a specific social paradox. The system rewarded speed, efficiency, and outcomes. The education system sorted winners and losers through a single examination. Corporate culture created hierarchies that determined life trajectories early and maintained them rigidly. The Chemian system made visible failure catastrophic and permanent. In a society with this level of structural sorting, where the system's judgment of your position carries this much weight, the emotional intelligence required is the ability to hold simultaneously the knowledge that the system has judged you and the recognition that the system's judgment does not determine your worth. That is not a comfortable thing to hold. It requires a specific cultural infrastructure, stories, music, drama, that validates the experience of being on the wrong side of the system's verdict without being destroyed by it. The underdog algorithm is that infrastructure. Korean cultural output, dramas, films, music, is doing something more specific than entertainment. It is providing a framework for millions of people to process the experience of living inside a highly efficient sorting system that regularly produces outcomes that feel unjust. The person who didn't get into Sky, the employee passed over for promotion, the athlete who trained for 4 years and missed the medal, the band that spent years on the margins before the world noticed. The algorithm says the system's verdict is not the final verdict. Persistence has its own value. The ghost data of the people who kept going despite losing, that data persists. That data matters.
The underdog algorithm doesn't just explain why Korean audiences cry at certain stories. It explains the specific architecture of those stories, why they are constructed the way they are, why the endings land the way they do, and why Korean cultural exports hit international audiences with an emotional force that Western entertainment formulas consistently fail to replicate. Case Study 1: The King's Warden. The film's emotional peak is not Danjung's tragedy. International reviewers consistently misidentify this. The emotional peak is the 6 ministers' choice. They know they will die. They know Seijo has already won. They know their deaths will be recorded as failures by the system that outlives them, and they choose, under torture, to refuse to validate the system error, to maintain data integrity at the cost of their own hardware. The underdog algorithm produces its maximum output here, not in the tragedy of losing, but in the dignity of the choice made inside the losing. The audience's tears are not for the outcome. They are for the specific quality of the persistence, the recognition that some things are worth protecting, even when the system has already decided they are not. Case Study 2: 2521. The ending of this drama produced one of the most intense audience reactions in recent Korean television history. not because it was devastating, but because it was honest. Na He Do and Baek E Jin love each other completely and then separate, not because of misunderstanding, not because of a villain, because the timeline, the specific historical and economic context of their lives makes their future together impossible. The Western formula would find a way around this. The Korean formula lets it stand. Because the underdog algorithm is not about finding a loophole in the system, it is about what it means to love something fully inside a system that will not allow you to keep it. The relationship was real, the love was complete. The separation does not retroactively diminish either. The ghost data persists. Case Study 3. BTS in the military service narrative. The most emotionally resonant moment of BTS's 2026 comeback was not the Gwanghwamun concert, though that was extraordinary. It was not the Billboard records, though those were historic. It was the simple fact of all 7 members having completed mandatory military service and returned. In a Korean cultural context, this is the underdog algorithm running in real time. The system required something of them, took 4 years, interrupted the momentum of the world's biggest pop group at its peak, and they submitted to that requirement. They did not find a loophole. They did not use their global fame to escape the obligation. They ran the protocol, and they came back. The tears at Gwanghwamun were not just for the music, they were for the specific Korean emotional experience of watching someone who had everything submit to the system's requirement anyway, and then return, intact, having lost nothing essential. That is the underdog algorithm in its purest cultural form. Not defiance of the system, but dignity inside it. The world is tired of winning. Not literally. People still want to succeed, to achieve, to reach goals. But the cultural appetite for stories where winning is the only meaningful outcome is visibly exhausting. The Marvel formula, the sports movie that ends with the championship, the business drama where the entrepreneur's vision is vindicated, the romance that resolves. These stories are not false, but they are incomplete. They describe only one kind of meaningful human experience, the kind where effort produces the intended outcome. Korean cultural output has spent decades building and exporting a framework for a different kind of meaningful experience, the kind where effort is real and the outcome is wrong, and meaning is found not in the vindication, but in the quality of the persistence itself. This is what the underdog algorithm offers the world. Not sadness, not tragedy for its own sake, not the cheap emotional manipulation of the bittersweet ending designed to make audiences feel something without asking them to think anything. Something more specific, the emotional intelligence to hold simultaneously the knowledge that a system produced an unjust outcome and the recognition that the people who were on the wrong side of that outcome were not diminished by it. That is a genuinely rare thing to find in mass cultural output, and its rarity explains, at least partially, why Korean dramas, Korean films, and Korean music travel so far beyond their original audience. The person in Sao Paulo who cries at 2521's ending is not responding to Korean specificity. They are responding to the universal experience of loving something that the timeline would not allow them to keep, and finding, in the Korean cultural framework, a validation of that experience that their own culture's stories rarely provide. The person in Lagos who is moved by the king's warden is not responding to Joseon history. They are responding to the universal experience of watching someone do the right thing inside a system that will not reward them for it, and finding in the Six Ministers' choice a dignity that transcends the specific historical context. The algorithm travels because the experience it processes is universal. The source code is Korean. The emotional territory is human. For the modern traveler arriving in Korea, understanding the underdog algorithm changes the experience of Korean culture entirely. The drama that ends without resolution is not a failure of storytelling. It is a deliberate encoding of the most honest thing Korean collective experience has learned, that the system's verdict is not the final verdict, that persistence has its own value, that that the ghost data of the people who kept going despite losing, that data persists across centuries, transmitted through stories, through music, through the tears of people sitting in darkened cinemas who recognize, without being able to name it, something true about their own experience. Korea has been encoding that truth into cultural output for centuries. The world is only now catching up to how much it needed to receive it. K-Logic will continue decoding the invisible systems that make Korean culture one of the most globally resonant forces on the planet, because the source code was always there. You just needed to know what you were reading.